there, people of the internet. I'm out here with my Commission 88 rifle from RTI, and this thing is an absolute smoothbore. It's a sewer pipe, there's no rifling left inside of it, and it keyholes. And I was out here thinking about keyholing, and I was thinking about a time way back whenever I was with somebody who had a keyholing rifle, and they were shooting at a target at about 50 yards, and they were trying to zero their rifle for the keyholing bullets that they were dealing with, and they were like, I can't figure out how to zero this rifle. And I was like, your bullets are keyholing, dude. And he was like, well, yeah, but whenever I try moving the crosshair or the sights or whatever the hell he was using, I think it was an optic actually, whenever I try zeroing the optic at that spot where that last hole was, another hole goes all the way over here. And I'm like, yeah, you're keyholing. What that means is that your bullet is not stabilized, and as a result, it's going to be stupidly inaccurate. So he was like, okay, and I guess it didn't really register to him what it is that I had actually said, because he was like, well, he didn't actually say this, but he was under the impression that he was just going to be doing Kentucky windage with it now. So rather than zero the optic, he saw where his last round hit, and he would try to adjust accordingly, trying to smack more center on his target, and it didn't work, and he got confused and frustrated and whatnot, and it ultimately dawned on me that he didn't understand that a non-stable bullet, like a keyholing bullet going down range, is going to be significantly inaccurate. And I had to do the football analogy. Whenever a football flies through the air, if it's spinning, it has significantly more stability, and as a result is significantly more accurate. Bullets are the same exact way. If they're spinning, they are significantly more stable and thus significantly more accurate as they go through the air. If you throw a football that just kind of tumbles, you have no sense of accuracy, at all. There's no telling where that football is going to be going simply because it's tumbling through the air. And bullets are the same way. If you have a target set up at 25 yards and you shoot the thing, you're going to have rounds going here, 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 if they're keyholing. Now, there's a couple of reasons why a rifle would be keyholing. Number one, twist rate. If you have an AR with a really good barrel, but it has a 1 in 12 twist, and you try throwing, say, 77 grain bullets inside that thing, they're going to keyhole just because the twist rate is not designed to be able to stabilize those particular bullets. So you got to know what bullets your twist rate stabilizes. If you have a good barrel and you're dealing with keyholing, that's what I would recommend looking into. Another one that is very common, if you have an old military surplus like what I have here, is a worn out bore. If you take your bullet and you stick it into your barrel and it just goes right down to the brass, you have a worn out bore. And what that essentially equates to is, as the bullet comes out of the barrel, the bore on the end of the barrel is not going to be worn, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to be worn well balanced. It's not going to be worn the same way around the entire end of the barrel. And so as a result, when you have say 50,000 plus psi of pressure pushing its way out beyond the bullet, if you have a little tiny gap on this side of the bullet from wear and then a huge gap on this side of the bullet from wear, you're going to have inconsistent pressures pushing on that bullet, and it's going to cause the bullet to essentially get pushed sideways, and then you're dealing with tumbling. Or in the case of a rifle like this, where the barrel is just completely and utterly shot out from a very, very hard lifetime of use, and as a result there's no rifling in the barrel whatsoever. Ooh, it says 85R on the barrel band. I'm just now noticing that. But if you have a rifle that is just shot out and has no rifling, or a worn out bore, or any issues like that, there's certain things that you could do. I would try different bullet weights. A lot of times if you have rifling or worn out rifling inside of your rifle, if you have a longer, heavier bullet that is slower moving, the rifling, even though it's worn out, will be able to grab onto that bullet better because it's slower, more moving, and there's more bullet to grab onto, and it'll be able to properly stabilize that. So if you're running lighter weight bullets and you're having issues with keyholing, then I would try doing that. Or maybe if your velocities are too low, you might also have issues with keyholing. Or if you're using undersized bullets like what I'm using today, Normally this rifle would take a 318 diameter projectile. Normally 8mm Mauser is a 323 diameter, but this rifle is supposed to take a 318. I don't have any 318 diameter bullets, so I'm actually using 314 diameter bullets, but that doesn't matter because, well, there's no rifling left inside of this rifle, so I'm not all that concerned about the bullet diameter or anything like that. I haven't actually slugged this barrel, but I imagine that I could probably use like actual regular size 8mm Mauser rounds. I'm just using these because this is what I had. So I have a target out at about 25 yards, and I'm going to shoot it a couple of times and show you guys what keyholing from a rifle like this is like and the lack of accuracy from it. At 25 yards with 8mm Mauser, I should be able to print a group size that looks like this, but that's not going to happen because this rifle keyholes. Of course, the damn rifle, it's dated 1894, so it's 130 years old at this point, 131 years old. So let's cut it some slack, shall we? I'm over here trying to get a bullseye on the center of the target, and I'm like, wait a second, these bullets are going to keyhole. We might not even get all of these 5 rounds that I'm going to be sending at the target. We might not even get them all on target, but hopefully we'll get at least one. So there's another there. Oh, dude, that was really cool. Something went flying down there. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera. The sun's in not that bad of a place, so hopefully you guys can see that down there. This is a landfill, by the way. That's why there's so much trash everywhere, and there's not much that I or anyone can do about that. So just because of like the lube on these bullets and the grease and whatnot in this gun, because it hasn't been fired in the past 100 years, it almost looks like I'm shooting black powder, but I do assure you that this is smokeless powder. I do like the way that this rifle feels, though. It is very smooth and comfortable, and I feel like if it had a proper rifled barrel inside of it, this would definitely have potential of being one of my favorite rifles. I like this rifle much more than the Mauser Actions if we're talking about just how smooth and comfortable this thing is to shoot. And I have no idea if you guys can actually fully see what's going on here. So I'm going to turn the camera a little bit more and shoot my target one more time here. All right, well, hopefully those rounds hit their target. All right, now I'm going to go grab that thing, and I'm going to show you guys how keyholing leads to significant lack of accuracy. Okay, this is hilariously bad. I got 1 round on target. So a target like this is like the size of my head. At 25 yards, I should have no problems hitting this. But you see right here, this long, looks like a keyhole, hole inside of the paper. That's because the bullet was not stabilizing. It was just kind of spinning as it went down range. And whenever it finally smacked into the target, that's what we're dealing with. That's what we have. So, not great. Definitely not great. I'm not going to be using this rifle for any real accuracy. Now, that being said, a keyholing round, if it does smack into a target, is absolutely devastating. One of the things that makes 5.56 do so much damage to its target is once it hits a target, the bullet destabilizes and it tumbles inside of that target. And that is whenever you get that big, massive wound channel inside that target. Well, if your bullet is already keyholing by the time it smacks into that target, then it's going to just dump all of its energy onto that target. And so as a result, you would have a pretty significantly egregious wound. I see a couple of little other holes on this, but I don't think that any of these other holes are my bullets. Those yeah, they would be keyholing. I have another target here that had other keyholing rounds from this Mauser from whenever I was actually testing it, or it's not even a Mauser, this Gewehr 88 rifle whenever I was testing it. And here's another keyhole. You can see how it is literally just like flat up against the paper. And here's another one. Like, those bullets, they're not going to be accurate at any distance at all. You can't just, whenever you're shooting something like this, you just aim for the center of your target and you hope that one of your keyholing rounds is going to hit your target. And if you're beyond 25 yards, odds are you're not going to hit your target. I'm probably going to load up some 8mm Mauser with some round ball just because I feel like that would be really fun to see. And we'll see if we can get any real accuracy with that. I got to actually slug the bore and see what bullet size I need, but that'll be something I do down the road. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. In my last few minutes of sunlight here, I'm going to walk around this range and gather up brass, because this is a public range and there's just a tremendous amount of brass hanging out on the floor here. I'll see y'all later.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.